It's gonna explode. It just made some bursting noises, but I think, okay. Last week, we tried to get our drip system set up on the berry patch before our trip to the homesteading conference. We were pressed for time and made a few mistakes, and I was a little discouraged and afraid to try again. Failure can put fear into your heart and prevent you from trying again. But today, my friends, I'm gonna kick the fear bucket over and try again. So after many weeks of trying to get the irrigation system set up, we've been traveling and things haven't been working. I've been discouraged. We haven't had the right parts. We've been waiting for the mail to give us one of these regulators. So we have the parts now. I just finished finally setting up drip hosing all down the berry patch. I don't even know if this one spigot can get all the way back there, so we're just gonna try it out. I put a ton of tape around all the threads, so hopefully it doesn't leak. We had a huge leaking problem before, and if it keeps leaking, then we need to figure out something else. But yeah, it's the moment of truth right now. I'm really nervous to turn it on. It's here. Does that mean it keeps pegging? Okay. That solved that problem. You guys, it is working. I'm so happy. Oh, it feels so good to see it work out. Some of these are spraying out a lot more. They're not dripping, and that might have been when we first did our test run. We didn't have the right pressure, and it might have burst those holes. And so I could just leave it and that just gets overwatered, but we might have to redo that section. I was able to patch up the places where it spewed out too much, and now the drip is perfect. All the plants are getting watered. The water goes all the way to the very back, which is pretty incredible. By tomorrow night, I won't have to do this anymore. That'll be really great. This is the healthiest way to water your plants. And with our soil just drying up, it evaporates so quickly. Like when I water, I fill up a pool of water around these plants, but
most of it evaporates.
A good portion evaporates. So for it to drip slowly and seep in, it's a lot more efficient for us and for the plants. Getting the pressure regulator helped. I think we did it! I'm so happy. We are getting our first wave of radish plants from the garden. It has been a whole year since we've been able to harvest vegetables from the garden, and it feels so good. I love it. So, many of you might be wondering, why would anyone need so many radishes? Well, let me tell you this. We are in love with what we call radish chips, which is just fermented radishes. Fermented foods are basically vegetables that you add to a salt brine and let it sit on your counter for several weeks. When it is sitting there, a good bacteria grows on your veggies, and the salt prevents any harmful bacteria from getting on your food. As I went back and looked at my filming, I found this little treasure on my video while I was recording. Little thing that I like to follow is I take the amount of water in grams and times it by 0.025, and that gives you the amount of grams of salt that you need to add to your water. And I just shake that up really good till it dissolves. I then add it to my veggies, put in my fermentation weight. I usually put my fermentations in a bowl because sometimes the water will spill out a little bit, and I let that sit.
Yeah, because I'm not pushing it.
So now that I've accomplished getting the berry patch all set up with drip hoses and things and the timer all set up, it was time to get a good setup for the orchard. So when I started working on this, the day was starting to get hotter, and I was trying to puncture a hole into the poly tubing, and it was actually really difficult. I had to squeeze this little tool so many times to get it to fit through. I finally got it to work, and it wasn't quite perfect, but it was good enough to make it work. So then I got the soaker hose around the tree, and as I began to work on the squash plants that are down the row, I again really struggled to puncture a a good hole into the poly tubing. And I remember hearing that when the tubing is warm, it's really hard to work with, which really limited me, and so I decided to wait until later to finish. So when I was trying to do the drip systems earlier today, it was too hot and I couldn't punch a hole into the tubing very well. You could see me struggling a little bit. So now it is almost 9, finally cooled down. We were at like 130 today. So finally cooled down. Hopefully I can work the tubing a little bit better. I really want to finish this tonight. I was able to finish getting the drip and soaker hoses to the orchard and the squash plants, which felt so good to get that knocked out. But, you guys, it led to another problem, which will lead to another project. Deer. Yep. We've been seeing deer prints in our yard, and we've been seeing them walk through our yard, but they haven't eaten anything. I thought we were off the hook, but when we turned off the overhead watering on the trees in the morning because we had the drip system set up, the deer moved in. So we had been watering the trees at 6 a.m., which was about when the deer would go through our yard, and I think this overhead spraying on the trees probably scared the deer away from eating them. So that worked until I got the drip systems done and turned off the overhead watering system. They also ate some of our shade trees too. So it is time to take action, and next week we will tell you all about our game plan. A few weeks back, we planted our herb garden. We have this little section next to our back patio where I was really wanting to grow a lush herb garden, and I had started some seeds for that, and we got them all planted. It is the middle of the summer and it's getting really hot, so I don't know how many of these are going to do well, and we might have to do some patching up for the next year, but I decided to get some labels out on the herb garden because there are some people in my family who might not be able to identify which herb I'm asking them to pick from. I really love cooking from fresh herbs. It really amplifies the flavor. If you've ever just been able to go out and pick fresh basil or parsley or sage and toss it in your dish, it makes a big difference. So some people have been wondering, where are the rabbits? So we've been talking about getting rabbits for several months now, and we've got our hutch complete. We do need to get it back outside and put it where we want to. So why don't we have them yet? So I have a specific breed in mind that I've been really wanting, and there was a woman in our area who was breeding those rabbits. So we waited for her rabbits to be bred, and then we were gonna hopefully get a trio from her. It was taking them longer to breed, and then when they had babies, there were complications. So then I started to wonder, well, do I really want rabbits from someone whose rabbits are struggling to breed and the babies are having complications? And so then I've been searching other areas outside. Maybe we drive a little further for them, and contacting some people, and it's not been working out. So now I'm starting to rethink my plan. Should we change breeds? Should we just get like a mutt rabbit, I guess, for meat rabbits? So that's where we're at right here. So I'm in that deciding phase of, okay, we really want to get started on this now. And so should we sacrifice on the breed and just get any rabbit that we can get that's good for meat, or hold out? So that's where we're at right now. So in case you've been wondering, that's what's been going on in the rabbit department.